You continue to amaze me, Revan. If only you had been the one to uncover the true power of the Starforge, you might have become truly invincible. But you were a fool. All you saw was an enormous factory. All you ever imagined was an infinite fleet rolling forth to crush the Republic. You are blind, Revan. Blind and stupid.
To some, Darth Malak is a complete and utter idiot, blindly following Revan into the Mandalorian War against the Jedi Council's fervent wishes, and egregiously taking up the title of Dark Lord in the process, only later to be defeated by his former master once Revan returned to the light. And to add insult to injury, one could argue that if Malak didn't betray Revan during his fateful confrontation versus the Jedi Strike Team's assault on his flagship, the Jedi, minus the power of one amnesiac Revan, would most likely have failed to thwart the newly minted Sith scheme to crush the Republic, and the war would have most likely ended with Malak as the victor. However, in reality, Darth Malak is a complete and utter genius. He was shown to be a brilliant and ruthless tactician on multiple occasions, and Darth Malak complements this trait during his quest to take complete control of the superweapon known as the Starforge, and in doing so, even surpasses his old master. And I aim to prove Malak's fall was not, as it may initially seem, be the result of any kind of miscalculation or errors on his behalf, but that Darth Malak may in fact be a victim of the Force itself.
But that destiny was not mine, Revan. It might have been yours, perhaps, but never mine. And in the end, as the darkness takes me, I am nothing.
Revan and Malak's descent into darkness actually began with compassion. The compassion that compelled them to enter the Mandalorian Wars.
Looking at Malak as the antagonist of KOTOR, it can be easy to forget that this was once a man of great conviction and purpose. When the Mandalorians invaded the Republic, brutally laying waste to world after world, Malak, then known as Alec, was emotionally moved to join his master, Revan, in his counter-crusade against these brutal invaders. Malak saw the destruction occurring throughout the galaxy, and he had the conviction to step up and take a stand against it, even though the Jedi Council forbade it. Malak has always been willing to stand up and do what is necessary, no matter the consequences, and no obstacle was ever strong enough to make him compromise or abandon his goals, even in his latter years. During the Mandalorian Wars, Malak's goal was, as his master's, to protect the Republic and end the war. Furthermore, other sources heavily imply that, as Sith, it was the goal of Revan and Malak to use the Starforge to strengthen the galaxy and prepare it and stand up against all threats, known or otherwise.
The Jedi Council refused to be baited into the battle. Despite the Mandalorians' brutal aggression, the Council decreed that no Jedi should take part in the fight. As the war grew worse, however, a splinter group of rebels formed within the Order, determined to rally to the Republic's defense. The splinter group was led by Revan and Malak.
The Starforge.
Although of the two, Revan would be most remembered for his reign as Sith Lord and his later redemption and return to the light. Revan's actions, however, are not congruent with his initial goals. We know that Revan and Malak had travelled into the unknown regions after the Mandalorian Wars and returned as Sith with one goal: to resurrect the might of the Rakardan superweapon known as the Starforge and wreak havoc on a shattered Republic, to reforge it as something stronger, more pure, and ideal. It is later revealed in teaser footage for Star Wars: The Old Republic at great length what actually transpired when Malak and Revan had met the true threat in the unknown regions, the Sith Emperor, and that they were twisted to do his bidding. However, if you look at the original game of Knights of the Old Republic in a vacuum, it becomes apparent that Revan is destined to either destroy Malak and the Starforge with the aid of the Republic, whether he is redeemed by the light in the canon ending or in the non-canon dark side ending. He still abandons the superweapon in both cases and is drawn back into the unknown regions alone. Now this makes me conclude that Malak, while corrupted by the Starforge's power, also pragmatically uses it as a tool, knowing the Republic must be broken and remolded to be strong enough to combat the unknown threat that he himself has forgotten. And while he mocks Revan for not seeing the superweapon's true potential in a villainesque way, by abandoning the weapon, Revan and the Republic may as well have labored for naught, as they were later destined to be conquered due to destroying their only safeguard, albeit a safeguard with a terrible price. Revan did, to his credit, limit his contact with the Forge, as he knew the power would corrupt him further, as it did the Rakardans, and mostly leveraged its ability to create infinite weapons. Yet later, Malak, if to win the war, lacked that luxury, and he admitted he became consumed by his lust for power, a side effect of prolonged use.
Malak is dead. All hail the return of Darth Revan, the true Lord of the Sith.
All hail Lord Revan! All hail Lord Revan! All hail Lord Revan!
The Sith bow before you. You have reclaimed your rightful throne. The Jedi Order is in tatters. It is only a matter of time until your Sith minions wipe them from the face of the galaxy. The Republic fleet is decimated. The core worlds are defenseless against us. You think torture will turn me, Malak? You are a fool.
Torture? No, dear Bastila. You misunderstand. This is but a taste of the dark side to whet your appetite. When you finally swear loyalty to me, it will be willingly.
Never.
In terms of strategy, if Knights of the Old Republic were laid out as a chessboard, Bastila Shan no doubt would be easily considered the Queen. Her battle meditation makes her an invaluable asset to the Jedi, and Malak was wise when the opportune moment arrived to have tried to kill Bastila and his old master in one fell swoop, rather than risk facing a bolstered Republic fleet with Bastila at the helm. When Malak learns that Bastila is on Taris, he leaves nothing to chance for a second time and bombards the planet's surface to hell, sacrificing many, so many more potentially may be spared in the long term. But Malak's true source of genius comes when he turns Bastila to the dark side. The way he deftly discerns that Bastila's ego is so strong and her belief in her own power so profound, thanks to the Jedi fostering this belief and special treatment, and the only way to show her the power of the dark side that would be undeniable to somebody as egocentric as herself is by unleashing its awesome energies upon her until she too craves to wield such a power, and he does so with remarkable ease.
They speak of the dark side as if it is something to be feared, but in reality their only goal is to manipulate those who are strong in the Force. The fear of the dark side is a tool to maintain control.
Turning his enemy's greatest chess piece, groomed for greatness among the Jedi's ranks for years, in a matter of days, to his own apprentice. And in the words of the Jedi, making him invincible.
We haven't forgotten about her, but we can't do her much good stuck down here.
I only hope we're not too late. Bastila has been Malak's prisoner for a long time. If he can turn her to the dark side, she will join him and the Sith will be invincible.
Revan's choices were always his own. It was not teaching or circumstance or example, it was him. And there is something that the Council may never understand, that perhaps Revan never felt. The difference between a fall and a sacrifice is sometimes difficult, but I feel that Revan understood that difference more than anyone knew. The galaxy would have fallen if Revan had not gone to war. Perhaps he became the Dark Lord out of necessity, to prevent a greater evil.
Even though we know Darth Malak was a Sith and eventually immersed in the dark side, there are a few key elements to Malak's actions and personality that makes me question whether he was fully corrupted by the dark side, as Kreia later states, or if he chose to fall and was cognizant of the ramifications of doing so, yet pragmatically loyal to his objective to the end and willing to make the ultimate sacrifice. However, the Force had other ideas. The first and most notable attribute which Malak displays is no yellow Sith eyes, which are a hallmark of darkside taint. Now, many darkside users do not show Sith eyes, whether masked as deception or other reasons, but it should be noted, when Revan's identity is revealed in a game flashback, he sports the hallmark yellow eyes. Malak has no reason to hide his affiliation, and may be further proof he acts out of a twisted compassion or is not yet fully corrupted, although this may just be a game design choice, of course. 2. He doesn't attack Revan for revenge. When we later learn that Malak's jaw was horrifically ripped off by Revan in a training duel, most Darksiders would hold a grudge. However, Malak seems far more pragmatic and states that he saw an opportunity to betray Revan as well as kill the asset Bastila Shan versus have his anger directed at his former master. He also has no ego about his horrifically disfigured lower jaw and leverages it as a tool of fear around his subordinates.
Once Bastila joins her battle meditation to our enormous fleet, we shall be invincible. Then we shall begin our final conquest of the core worlds, and the Republic will be crushed forever.
One of the defining traits of the dark side is ego, arrogance, and pride, and yet Malak, on several occasions, does not display these tendencies. When Revan boards the Starforge, he tests his abilities with the Starforge's defenses, and when that fails, he takes Revan seriously and throws literally his entire forces at him, not allowing his pride, as many villains would, to take control.
Why have you disturbed me?
I have news, Lord Malak, about the Jedi.
The Jedi. Did my droids pass their test? Did they destroy our enemies?
No, Lord Malak. The droids could not stop them.
Strange. I did not think there were any among the Order who could survive an attack by an army of the Starforge's battle droids.
It was Revan, Lord Malak. Your old master is with the Jedi here on the Starforge.
Yes, that would explain why the droids failed. Revan was always strong in the Force. Very well. Send out all available troops, the apprentices as well.
Do you think they can stop Revan, Lord Malak?
Of course not. But they will slow Revan down. That will give me the time I need to fully prepare the Starforge's defenses. I am curious to see the true extent of this space station's capabilities. One as powerful as my old master will make an interesting test subject.
And he also acknowledges how powerful Revan is. He then, in a master chess move, actually sacrifices his queen Bastila Shan because he knows that if she kills Revan, bolstered by the power of the Starforge due to Revan hesitating, that he wins and she proves her loyalty. And if Bastila loses, then he has time to bear down on Revan with the full might of the Forge itself, and in no logical world should he have lost. Which brings me to the Dark Experiment.
Perhaps you will triumph, Bastila. But even if you fail, it will give me the time I need to complete my preparations of the station's defenses. And then we shall see if Revan can stand against the full fury of the Starforge. You continue to amaze me, Revan. If only you had been the one to uncover the true power of the Starforge, you might have become truly invincible. But you were a fool. All you saw was an enormous factory. All you ever imagined was an infinite fleet rolling forth to crush the Republic. You are blind, Revan. Blind and stupid.
Immediately prior to his defeat at the hands of Revan, Malak attempts to harness a heretofore unexplored property of the Starforge. Using Jedi captured from the destroyed Jedi Enclave on Dantooine, Malak was able to incorporate them into the Starforge itself, which was seemingly capable of harnessing the power of Force sensitives and channeling the power into a particular subject. In this case, Malak himself.
The Starforge is more than just a space station. In some ways, it is like a living creature. It hungers, and it can feed on the dark side that is within all of us. I have not let them become one with the Force. Instead, I have brought them here. The Starforge corrupts what remains of their power and transfers the dark taint to me.
The Jedi in the Starforge were unable to become one with the Force while in this state, and Malak could use the energy inside the nearly lifeless bodies to regain his strength. The drained Jedi were apparently killed in the process, which makes sense why Malak would be willing only in the endgame to sacrifice crucial pieces in his deadly game to achieve ultimate victory, including many of his troopers, dark-side acolytes, and even Bastila Shan's invaluable battle meditation itself. Before the final battle, Revan managed to use the unique powers of the Starforge himself to construct a set of robes, and according to the wiki, this unforeseen boon would distinctly power Revan to greater heights in the Force than Malak even knew was possible, and it would be nearly impossible to predict that Revan would come across this power as he was hunting Malak down.
You cannot beat me, Revan. Not here on the Starforge. Not when I can draw upon the power of all these Jedi. And once you are beaten, I will do the same to you. You will be trapped in a terrible existence between life and death, your power feeding me as I conquer the galaxy.
Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, Andor Vex was his name. The Force swirled around him like a hurricane. That's how great his destiny was. Sometimes swirling force is just swirling force. It gets us old Jedis excited at our age, so we go, ooh, destiny.
By all accounts, Malak should have been able to crush an errant Revan and the Jedi, yet it seems he may be a victim of fate itself. Jolie Bindo's story of fate seems to be a direct parable for the events occurring in KOTOR 1. The Force seems to be guiding these events heavily. In no world should a fallen ex-Jedi turned Sith Lord be able to successfully be returned and controlled by a considerably inept Jedi and Republic that had nearly been crushed previously. Nor should Revan have ever been able to have faced Malak, even at the height of his power, the full might of the Starforge, a super weapon capable of creating infinite amounts of weapons, and Malak funneling the dark side into himself, making his own personal power nearly beyond comprehension. In all logic, Malak should have been, as described in many cutscenes, having acquired Bastila, the Starforge, and unlocking its true potential, albeit at a terrible dark side price, all but invincible.
The Starforge is a factory of immense power. It's been churning out the capital ships, snub fighters, and assault droids that have powered the Sith war effort.
The Sith fleet is too well organized. It's like they can guess our every move and counter our every strategy.
It's because of Bastila, Admiral. She turned to the dark side and became Malak's apprentice. We suspect she's somewhere on that space station right now, using her battle meditation against you and your fleet.
If Bastila is using her power to augment the Sith, then Malak's fleet is invincible.
And unlike most villains, Malak further acknowledges that Revan, although misguided pawn of the Jedi, may be right about the strength of the light, and that he indeed, in the end, had fallen victim to the taint of the dark side himself, a level of introspection rarely seen in a previously assumed monarchical villain.
Still spouting the wisdom of the Jedi, I see. Maybe there is more truth in their code than I ever believed. I cannot help but wonder, Revan, what would have happened had our positions been reversed? What if fate had decreed I would be captured by the Jedi? Could I have returned to the light as you did?
Before Revan delivers the killing blow to his former apprentice, this sentiment about fate is directly echoed by Malak himself.
Of course. What else do you have? Fate and destiny have conspired to keep you alive despite my best efforts. They have thrust you into the role of savior. We have been inexorably pushed to this final confrontation, Revan. I see now that this can only be settled when one of us destroys the other. Once again, we shall face each other in single combat, and the victor will decide the fate of the galaxy.
He realized he was not who the Force had chosen, and instead had been the victim of its whims, initially led by compassion and friendship, then sacrificed all that he had, all that he was, until he arrived at the end of a dark path alone, and finally he realized that all he had labored for was ultimately for nothing.
I suppose you speak the truth. I alone must accept responsibility for my fate. I wanted to be master of the Sith and ruler of the galaxy, but that destiny was not mine, Revan. It might have been yours, perhaps, but never mine. And in the end, as the darkness takes me, I am nothing.
But what do you think of Darth Malak? A genius strategist and victim of fate? Or a fool for going up against his former master? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe to stay up to date with the latest videos. And until next time, Traveler.